Written over 400 years ago, the tragedy of Hamlet is often considered the most deeply analyzed psychological text in Western history. The entire story is confined within the stone walls of Denmark's royal castle, Elsinore. This isolation creates a pressure cooker for everyone living inside. This map visualizes Elsinore's perfectly balanced relationships. A stable triangle of power sits at the top: King Claudius, Queen Gertrude, and Prince Hamlet. Power flows outward to the king's advisor Polonius and his daughter Ophelia, who is dating the prince. Every person in this hierarchy is bound by strict political and familial obligations. But the very rigidity that keeps the court functioning is exactly what allows one prince's indecision to tear the whole system apart. The disruption starts on the castle walls. The ghost of Hamlet's recently deceased father appears in the fog, claiming his brother Claudius murdered him for the crown. The spirit issues a single command: get revenge. But Hamlet hesitates. He is a student of the late Renaissance, deeply influenced by skeptical humanism, a philosophy emphasizing the strict limits of human knowledge. Because of it, Hamlet actively doubts whether he can trust his own eyes, whether the ghost is actually a demon in disguise, and whether killing a king is a damning sin. To buy time and investigate his uncle safely, Hamlet decides to feign insanity. By acting completely unhinged, his position in the court becomes entirely unpredictable. That single choice introduces a virus of deception into the Elsinore network. Hamlet's internal paralysis triggers a chain reaction that compromises everyone connected to him. To sell the illusion of his madness, Hamlet weaponizes his closest ties. He starts with Ophelia, subjecting his lover to cruel, unprovoked verbal abuse to convince the spying court that he has lost his mind. Next, he alienates his childhood friends, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Hamlet correctly deduces that the king and queen summoned them as spies, and he immediately severs these ties. Running out of options to verify the ghost's story, Hamlet uses a traveling theater troupe to stage a play. He instructs the actors to perform a scene that exactly mirrors his father's alleged poisoning. The trap works. Watching the fictional murder unfold, King Claudius panics and bolts from the room. By collapsing the boundary between stage fiction and reality, Hamlet finally gets the absolute proof he needs. Yet by systematically destroying his own alliances to uncover the truth, Hamlet isolates himself completely. His righteous quest for justice devolves into a paranoid, solitary obsession. Immediately following the play, the prince gets a perfect, unimpeded opportunity for revenge. He finds Claudius completely alone and vulnerable in his chambers. But Claudius is praying. Hamlet's philosophical mind kicks in again, rationalizing that if he strikes down a man in prayer, he might inadvertently cleanse his uncle's soul and send him straight to heaven, so he lowers his weapon. Moments later, still highly agitated, Hamlet confronts his mother in her chambers. Hearing someone call out from behind a heavy tapestry, he reacts entirely on impulse and drives his sword through the fabric. He pulls back the curtain, expecting to find the king. Instead, he finds the innocent advisor, Polonius, bleeding out on the floor. By constantly delaying action in search of total moral certainty, Hamlet commits an unjustifiable murder. The victim becomes the perpetrator. The murder sends shockwaves through the castle. While Hamlet only pretended to lose his mind, the trauma of her father's sudden death drives Ophelia into genuine insanity, culminating in her apparent suicide by drowning. With Ophelia permanently erased from the court's ecosystem, the remaining allegiances fracture rapidly. Her brother, Laertes, rushes back from France. Unlike Hamlet, Laertes demands immediate, violent retaliation for his family, entirely uninterested in philosophical debates. King Claudius easily manipulates this explosive grief. He convinces Laertes to challenge Hamlet to a rigged fencing match, ensuring the young man is armed with a poison-tipped blade and preparing a cup of tainted wine as a backup. Hamlet's prolonged hesitation has ultimately manifested a dark mirror of himself, a grieving son who is perfectly willing to bypass every moral code to secure his vengeance. Before the duel begins, Hamlet encounters two gravediggers preparing Ophelia's resting place. One of them casually lifts the skull of Yorick, the old royal jester, from the dirt. Staring into the face of his childhood entertainer, Hamlet reaches a grim, existential realization. Death is the absolute equalizer. It comes for everyone, regardless of whether their lives were defined by righteous morality or paralyzing fear. The fencing match quickly devolves into a chaotic bloodbath. Queen Gertrude accidentally drinks the poisoned wine. Laertes stabs Hamlet with the tainted blade. They switch weapons in the scuffle, and Hamlet fatally wounds Laertes in return. With his final breaths, Hamlet finally forces the toxic wine down Claudius's throat. In a matter of minutes, the primary power structure of Elsinore is wiped completely clean. This sudden, total power vacuum leaves the country defenseless. The opportunistic Prince Fortinbras of Norway simply marches through the open doors and claims the Danish crown without a fight. By desperately searching for the perfect, morally certain action, Hamlet guaranteed indiscriminate destruction. His paralyzing delay dragged the innocent down with the guilty, eradicating his entire world.